This is at the site of the old Lambroughton or Lambroughton Loch, possibly also known as Red Rig Loch. Just along the side there is what appears to be the old Loch shore, where the hawthorns are and so on. Running down the centre here is the Gowria burn. It's spelt Gowria, but the pronunciation is Gowria. The maps don't give it a name. There's been some confusion here. The Gowria burn here is used as a name for the Bracken burn. That's the next burn to the east, going towards Kilmaurs. That's an Ordnance Survey error. Look at the old map of the parish of Kilmaurs, then by McNaught, and it shows the correct names. The Gowria is somewhat seasonal. It used to drain Biston Loch, which is now almost completely drained. It tends to dry out during the summer. In the distance is Titwood, very old farm, once the home of Robert Burns, as in Uncle Robert, the uncle of Robert Burns the poet. He lived there whilst he was working at the quarries near Sturton. He also had a small school there as well, teaching local boys, the local farming lads. Up on the hill is East Lambroughton, and the distance at the chicken farm is Hillhead Farm. There are records of curling matches taking place at the Red Rig Loch. This area is still very wet. Pools of water lie here for most of the winter. There is a name Loch Rig, or Loch Ridge as it was originally, up by Sturton, but that doesn't seem to be related to this loch. This shows how flat the old loch bed was. Again, here's the Gowria coming towards us. Here it has its confluence with the Loch Ridge or Loch Rig burn, which itself has a small burn coming down from the Castleton farm. Here's the old loch shore, the old edge of the loch. And the distance amongst that clump of trees, there was an old farm, an old dwelling known as Loch End. And it does look as though the ridge there has been cut through to drain the loch. So whether that was ever a mill or not is hard to work out. One of the old maps does mark a Lambroughton mill, which appears to be in this general area. On the hill is Hillhead. Another name that's linked here was Cranshaw. Cran as in crane as in heron. So basically the wood where the herons would nest, and that would be suggestive of a loch being nearby. That clump of trees in the distance, that might be the old Cranshaw wood. But we're now talking of times when the maps are few and far between. The distance here is East Lambroughton Farm, the old pronunciation being Lambroughton. This is looking down at the old loch from the dwelling of Loch End. A big pile of stones here. They're not building rubble. They appear to have been removed from the burn to make it deeper. Certainly here it's more of being canalised, dug deep. So it's unnaturally deep. So it appears that the stones have been removed to allow for the drainage of the loch. This pile of stones here is all that remains of the Loch End dwelling, which was here up until the 19th century. Certainly these old trees here appear to be related to the site, in the sense that they were planted when the building was here. Here are the remains of hawthorn hedging. Another ash tree in the distance. Running away from it was a lane that ran up to Wheatrigg, which is just round the corner to the left. Loch End gives more the appearance of a small cottage, farm worker's cottage. Doesn't appear to be a mill site. The mill site appears to be over the ridge at Cranshaw, where the Bracken burn, which is a much more substantial burn, would bring the water down to it. Just up from Loch End is striking evidence of how much effort they went to drain the loch. A long bund here of sizable boulders dug out to lower the level to allow the loch to drain. It's a considerable task to drain the old Lambroughton or Wheatrigg Loch.